What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So Michigan State starts off the season with an 81-57 win at home at the Breslin Center against Monmouth, a game in which you can take a lot of good from. You can really take a lot of good from this. A couple question marks still remaining after this game, of course, but in my opinion, I think the expectations for this team might be changing. Again, it is just one game, but my expectations are changing just a little bit. We're going to talk about it here, but first, if you could, just hit that like and subscribe button down there. More Michigan State content on the channel. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So let's just jump in. I mean, it was an incredible start for Michigan State. Got out, I believe it was like 17-2 at one point. Everything was clicking. First play of the game, got a nice Jeremy Fears to Jaden Akins alley-oop. That's how you start out your senior season for Jaden Akins, and we're going to definitely talk more about Jaden Akins later on in this, but just going through a couple things here. I mean, really throughout the game, this would have and probably should have been a bigger margin of victory, but Michigan State goes 3 for 18 from 3, shooting 16.7%, and they only shoot 18 for 27, 66.7% from the free throw line. If you bring that free throw percentage up to about 75-78%, and you shoot, even like 28-30% from 3, I mean, this is, probably looking somewhere 100 points. And, Monmouth did not shoot it well either, 29.6% for them. But overall, it was a pretty decisive win for Michigan State. We do have to shout out a couple players on Monmouth, though. First off, got to start out with Abdi Basir Jr. I mean, he was absolutely incredible. He had 20 points. It seemed like he could not miss from 3. He was 3 for 11 from three-point range, but it seemed like they came at some opportune times to really keep that from like an 8 to 14 point margin for a good amount of the game. And then as well as Cornelius Robinson Jr., bringing in 10 rebounds. He was a force down there in the paint as well. And overall, Monmouth had some good players, good athletes. Michigan State did talk about that. Tom Izzo talked about that after the game as well, that they challenged Michigan State and provided a good opening night challenge. Obviously, this isn't on the same level that James Madison was last year, but, overall for night one, a solid opponent to face. And as we said, this game and the Niagara game on Thursday, work out some of the kinks really specifically on offense with your rotation. And getting into that for Michigan State, again, rolling with the same starting lineup, Simone Zapala starting at center. He had a pretty good game overall, 4 for 5 from the field, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks as well, so 9 points. I thought he was solid. The other centers, Carson Cooper, 4 points, 1 for 3 from the field. 3 rebounds. Would like to see, as we talked about going into the season, would like that rebounding percentage to go up a little bit. Jackson Kohler, though, I thought he was pretty big, especially on the glass, 8 rebounds. 2 for 5 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. Really like seeing him being able to get those 2 3-pointers up and, of course, make one. But overall, Jackson Kohler, I mean, gave me a little bit of PTSD, not going to lie, not being able to catch the ball in the post. But overall, I think a solid game. Things are moving in the right direction for him. And I did see pregame that Tom Izzo did talk about with Jackson Kohler and Trey Holloman, who unfortunately just couldn't really get going tonight. 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. Had 2 assists, but I mean, he was in foul trouble, ended up fouling out, later in the second half. Just never really got things going. But talked with them about being that Mo Peterson, 6-man instant offense off the bench type, instant impact off the bench. And I think that could shake out for those guys. And, I'm still going to stand on what I said preseason, that I wish Jackson Kohler would start at the 5, because we saw during this game, and I will give the staff credit that they did, yes, they did have their 2 big lineups out there at times, but they did also play a lot of Cohen Carr at the 4 and Jackson Kohler at the 5, or, Booker at the 5 and Cohen at the 4. So they did switch some stuff up from what we had previously seen and probably what we had expected coming into the season. So that was a positive sign as well. And then just want to mention Frankie Fiddler as well. 9 points, 3 rebounds. He was able to get to the line, though. 5 for 7 from the line. 0 for 3 from 3, though. 2 for 7 from the field. But I think, with Frankie, he was able to, first game in a Michigan State uniform, he was able to, shot wasn't falling, able to draw the fouls like we talked about and lauded about all summer, why we loved him coming in, because he was able to get to the free throw line. Him and Jaden Akins, who we will talk more about here in a second, got to the free throw line 7 times. That was an encouraging sign. Xavier Booker, I'm not going to worry too much about. 4 points, 2 rebounds, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 for 10 from the field. The shooting, I'm not going to worry about. He had, of his 10 shots, probably like 7 of them were completely wide open. You expect him to make those. I know that'll turn around. He's an incredible shooter. The 2 rebounds, though, I will say that that's something to watch. He needs to rebound the ball better. I will say, though, that, Simone Zapala, Jaden Akins, and Jackson Kohler did take up a lot of the rebounds. Even Cohen Carr, as we talked about, he was running the lane really well. 9 points. Obviously, he had a couple of highlight dunks, but he had 5 rebounds as well, a steal, and he was really playing well, especially when they put him in that 4 spot. And yes, obviously the highlight dunks, getting on the break, that stuff's all cool, but really that's what we were looking for and hoping for this season, is that evolution of him just on offense. Instead of just being the best athlete on the floor, best athlete in the country, some of that stuff and the refinement of the offensive game is what we saw in this game, and it's a step in the right direction. He's never going to be, as we talked about, a knockdown shooter, but seeing that stuff, the slashing, and setting up some different actions on offense, putting him in different actions, I think that is a big step in the right direction for this team. Then, in my opinion, the 2 brightest spots that I'll talk about for this team. First off, got to talk about Jace Richardson, who I was at the front of the line for the Jace Richardson hype train coming into this year. He came out 10 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, a steal, 2 for 2 from the line, 4 for 5 from the field. He just looked like he belonged, and that's what we talked about in the exhibitions and in the Spain trip, that he just looked like he belonged on the floor and that he was just a calming presence. And I think Izzo even touched on this a little bit in the post-game press conference that they were talking about on the bench. Like, he just knows what he's doing. His basketball IQ is high. His feel for the court and what he needs to do is super high, and that's encouraging. And I actually was texting someone after the game about him and, how well I thought he looked. And, I kind of, compared him to, if you watch the NBA or you watch the Golden State Warriors, I compared him to a Brandon Pajemski. No, it's just not the lefty shooter thing there. They do a lot of the little things. Some of it might not show up in the stat sheet. Brandon Pajemski isn't going to go out there and score 15, 20 points a game, but he can knock down a couple of huge threes, but he's just always going to do the right thing, make the right pass, get some steals, take some charges. And I see Jace Richardson kind of in that role right now, especially for this year with, the guys they have in the starting lineup. Obviously, later in his career, I think he will flourish once he gets into that starting lineup, and that I believe he will. I think he's going to be an incredible player here, and I'm right at the front of the line of that hype train. And he also had 22 minutes played as well. I know some of that had to do with, Trey Holloman only playing 11 minutes due to being in foul trouble, but I said at the beginning of the year, I saw him like 13, 15 minutes a game, somewhere in there, 14, but I said by February, I expect him to be 18 to 20 minutes a game. 22 minutes, albeit was because of some foul trouble, he's going to force himself on the floor. And we saw that in the first game. Some of it was out of necessity, but a lot of it, a majority of it, in my opinion, was because of how he was playing and what he was bringing to the team, the jolt he was bringing to the team. But that was encouraging to see, and so looking forward to Jace Richardson. Well, of course, this year, his freshman year, and throughout his career here. But then lastly, Jaden Akins. 27 minutes played, 23 points, tying a career high, 5 assists, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 6 for 7 from the free throw line, 8 for 12 from the field, was 1 for 4 from 3. Not worried about that. Same thing with Booker. Good shooters. Going to see some of those threes start falling. But this is what we wanted from Jaden Akins and what we needed for this team to be successful this year. Now listen, it is one game. It is Monmouth. We've seen him have some good games before in his career. You think about the Michigan game last year, was it, I think 7 threes in that game? But he's had a handful of good games throughout his career where we've seen him, put up big scoring outputs. But the fact that he was defending well, he put up his points, he was scoring, he was crashing the glass, rebounding, assists, steals, block, everything. As we said, he was just doing everything. And I saw him develop as the alpha of this team. Saw him before the game, when they were coming out, and before the game started. He was the one talking in that huddle, it looked like, from section 210, up there. But that's what it looked like on the video board there on the court. He was the one leading that conversation, and that's what Izzo talked about, him being a vocal leader, taking over this team and being the leader that they need. And then I also think the coolest sequence for him, and was like, oh, okay, this is a different Jaden Akins, was in the second half, had the ball, then gave it up to the wing, and then made a cut to get back, get open, get the ball, and he was clapping for the ball, give me the ball, made a move, went to the basket, got fouled, got the and one, went to the free throw line, made the free throw for an and one. I mean, this is just a different demeanor, senior year Jaden Akins, and I am so excited to see it. Yes, obviously, the talk and, what everyone will make jokes about, and I want to say that I was on the Jaden Akins camp of, do you want 3 to 4 years of Jaden Akins or 1 year of Monty Bates? And I, at the time, said 3 to 4 years of Jaden Akins. Yes, this is just one game, and obviously this was before everything, how Amani's, college career shook out, but still, just at face value, this is what 3 to 4 years of Jaden Akins could look like. Obviously, this is just one game against Monmouth. Need to see it consistently because, as I said, we've seen him put up numbers like this before, and we need to see him do it consistently. But it was the all-around numbers for me that get me excited, that think that this can continue throughout this year and he can lead this team. Now, in my opinion, should the expectations change a little bit? Now, I said that there was a possibility that Michigan State should be in that top 4 or 5 discussion in the Big Ten, and I picked them to finish 5th in the Big Ten. I think if Jaden Akins played like this when a handful of your other, another top 3 player for this team, and Xavier Booker didn't really have that good of game, obviously. And then, that another guy, Trey Holloman, was in foul trouble, didn't have that great a game either. When those guys eventually get it going, and if Jaden can keep this up throughout the year, I don't see any reason, especially, with the unknown in this conference, I don't see why they can't, compete to win this league. Am I going to pick them to win this league? No. Do I already have a bet on FanDuel for them to win this league, though? Yes. But am I going to sit here and predict it? No, I'm not. But I think the possibility is there. We need to see this gradual improvement and consistency from this group, though. And, I think this game and Thursday's game will be a good, feel-out game for this team. Get things solidified. You got a big matchup next Tuesday against Kansas in the Champions Classic. That's your first real test of the year. Then you get a little bit of a tune-up time before you go to Maui. You could face UConn there, and, there's a bunch of other good opponents in that tournament as well. But I'm excited. Hey, as Izzo said, last year we were 0-1 at this time, and this year we are 1-0. So that is off to a good start in my opinion. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.